Welcome in, guys. Today we're going to be doing a top 15 albums of 2024 countdown. As I go through each album, I'm going to be trying to kind of highlight two songs on the album that are not singles or that were not released before the album came out, to kind of just highlight some of maybe the backtracks. I mean, most people, it's really easy to hear the singles. A lot of times they'll get more radio play and more attention. And so most people, if you know the albums, you know the singles or have heard the singles. So wanted to go through and kind of highlight some of these deeper cuts off of my favorite albums of the year. We're going to go ahead and get started with just a couple of honorable mentions. Now, these are ranked in really no order. I just kind of listed them out. First one we have is American Motorsports by Bill Murray. Boundaries, Death is Little More. Better Lovers, Highly Irresponsible. And From the New World by Alt. And Grief from Zeal and Ardor. Now, each of these albums for me was a very good album, one that I listened to quite a bit, but wasn't quite ranked high enough to make it into that top 15. And again, the criteria, kind of what I go off of, is just albums that I enjoyed listening to the most, and the ones that I had on repeat throughout the year. That's kind of where I'm going from. I don't want to, which one's better musically or more sound. Not really a trained musician, so I don't have any insight to any of that. Just this is from a fan's perspective of men. I really enjoyed that album, and so I kind of just went through and ranked my albums for 2024, and here we go. Number 15, Cane Hill, with their release, A Piece of Me, I'll Never Let You Find. When I actually saw these guys here in early 2025, they were doing their kind of first tours for this album, and they self-proclaimed slutty metalcore album, which I thought was awesome because I love this album. So for me, it just they have a very, very good balance of that melodic and heavy side. If you go listen to Drowning Therapy, the chorus in that song is just phenomenal. That soaring high is just awesome. I also love Eye to Eye, which is probably the heaviest song on the album. Just a great marriage of those two sounds. This is the first release for Cane Hill that I've really been able to get into and dig every track. So I was really excited to kind of find a new band and hear some sounds or some songs and stuff that I was really able to get into, and so excited to see what these guys have in store for us. I really think that they're putting it together, musically and stuff, is just in an area that I really enjoy. Number 14 is Make Them Suffer's self-titled release. This album for me is a great blend of kind of electronic and metalcore sounds. I think Oscillator is kind of one of the best examples of that on the album, of blending the heavy and electronic sides of music, and really just a solid album overall. I also love Tether. Has a great balance of that heavy and melodic side. If you can't tell, that's kind of one of my biggest things that I look for, that I enjoy in albums, is being able to have that heavy melodic marriage and really complementing both sides of that band's sound. This album does a great job of kind of doing that and showcasing what Make Them Suffer is all about. Number 13 is Poppy with her album Negative Spaces. Now, as I was going through and doing my rankings, I was actually surprised that this album had kind of dropped a little bit. When this album came out, it was one that I was really into and really enjoyed. A lot of the singles are really very catchy. And I've tried to go through and listen to Poppy and get into her before. I never was really able to, and so to me it was almost a surprise that I enjoyed this album as much as I did. Some of my favorite tracks are going to be Vital. I just love kind of that marriage again of the heavy and melodic side of her stuff, and then The Center Is Falling Out has some amazing like alarm clock riffs that really just kind of pop and get your attention. So it's another great album, and I think another artist that is really kind of starting to come into her own and make music that, as a fan, that I'm able to relate to her and enjoy maybe a little bit more than her older stuff. So I'm excited to see kind of where she's able to take and build off of on the next album. Number 12, Judas Priest with their album Invincible Shield. For me, this is just a classic heavy metal album. Judas Priest, obviously one of the godfathers of heavy metal. Just awesome overall album. Two of my favorite kind of deep cuts again are going to be God Is My Witness and Vicious Circle. I think those songs are good examples of Judas Priest being able to still be kind of at the top of their game. One of the godfathers, again, of heavy metal, just the awesome dual guitars. And obviously Rob Halford vocals are unmatched. Just a really solid album overall, and definitely worth a listen. Number 11 is Eminence with their release, The Black. This album for me is just an amazing marriage of the melodic and heavy side of what music can be. Eminence includes a violin, and a lot of their songs, the lead screamer will scream and sing and play violin. It's a very, very unique, awesome sound. Some of my favorite tracks on this album were Beyond the Pale, Come What May, and I threw in an extra one, The Call of the Void. All are really, really awesome songs, and really the violin is such an amazing complement to and great addition to metalcore. I would maybe even call these guys a violin core or something like that, but just such an amazing marriage of the two sounds. Being able to bring those two worlds together in the way that they do is musically just really, really interesting and really cool. So definitely a band and an album that I listened to a lot, and one that I would check out. Number 10 is Falling in Reverse with their album Popular Monster. Now, Falling in Reverse is a band that I have never really even been super into. I do like some of their older stuff moderately, but this album to me was definitely my favorite that they've ever done. I love some of the ways that they're able to do like genre bending and bring in country and rap, and they have Jelly Roll and Tech Nine and a bunch of other really cool features on this album. I also think one of the things that made a huge difference on this album for me, as far as my like and interest in it, is I know that they looped in Cody Quistad, the guitar player from Wage War, and had him help write some of the songs. And so some of the singles and stuff like that on this album were just very catchy, very, very good songs, I felt like. And Ronnie's an extremely talented vocalist. You can have your own thoughts or opinions on his personality or what he does outside of music and stuff like that, but very, very, very talented vocalist. And this album, the songs that I really loved or thought that I would highlight was Trigger Warning. I mean, what kind of a metal song has a piano solo in it? Very, very unique, very cool. And I also like Bad Guy. I think lyrically is kind of a good example of how Ronnie feels. Very, very interesting, but a very, very cool album, again, that has a lot of that genre bending sound to it. So if you haven't already, definitely give this album a spin. Number 9 is Kerry King's release, From Hell I Rise. This album is very, very similar sounding to a lot of Slayer stuff. As you can imagine, Kerry King gonna go and move on from Slayer and write very Slayer sounding songs. The two tracks that I really enjoyed that were not singles were Crucifixation and Toxic. Again, just very heavy, super fast. I think that Mark's vocals add a little bit something different maybe than what Tom Araya is able to do, but still stay very, very true to the classic thrash sound that Slayer is known for. Just absolutely awesome album. Definitely worth checking out. Number 8, 156 Silence with their release, People Watching. The two songs that really stood out to me on this album, Funeral Arrangements and Product Placement. There's a couple other tracks as well that are really, really good, but those two for me are a incredible blend of hardcore, metalcore vibes. Probably, one of the latest risers. As I was doing my rankings, I didn't really catch this album until around November, December-ish. And really, really kind of started to get into them and dig this album. So as I was going through my rankings, this was a very, very quick riser. I love that they have a little bit more of that heavy hardcore sound, but still will switch back into having a melodic, more accessible sound on some songs. Definitely a unique album and a unique band. So definitely go out and check these guys out. Number 7. Knocked Loose, You Won't Go Before You're Supposed to. This album for me, top to bottom, is just absolutely phenomenal. Every track on here is very, very good. The song that I did want to highlight is Sit and Mourn. Now, if you're going to go and listen to the song all the way through, that's fine, but go and fast forward to 1 minute and 12 seconds. And that riff is probably my favorite riff of 2024. Just heavy, chuggy, absolute perfection. Love that riff, and I love that riff kind of carries throughout the rest of the song. You only get like that big loud part right there, but you can hear other elements of that riff throughout the rest of the song. All in all, just a great way to close out the album. You go through and listen to it again. The album top to bottom is phenomenal, has a lot of cool songs on there, but that riff on Sit and Mourn for me was, like I said, one of the best riffs of 2024. Number 6, Kublai Khan with their album Exhibition of Prowess. The 2 tracks that I wanted to kind of highlight in this album are Ant Pile 2 and Darwinism. Darwinism is just a phenomenal way to kind of get into an album. It's the 2nd track on the album, but opening lyrics, some of the just heaviest, best lyrics. I mean, not safe for work, but holy freaking cow. If that doesn't get you pumped up to just run through a wall, like, you probably just don't got it in you to do that. So Darwinism, just an absolute banger. And then Ant Pile 2, obviously a fan favorite. Just an incredible song. Doesn't need a lot of lyrics, just crushing. A great album, top to bottom. So if you haven't already listened to this album, definitely go and give it a spin. Number 5 is Bring Me the Horizon with their album Next Gen. It was very hard to pick songs that were not singles off of this album. Honestly, that was kind of one of my biggest, marks or nitpicks with this album, is that I felt like all of the songs, for the most part, we'd already heard. There was only about maybe 4 or 5 tracks that were unreleased before the album came out. And so going and listening to the album top to bottom, it was like, I know this song, I know this one. So maybe a little bit of a letdown. I do think that it would, be good for bands. I think it's kind of a more trendy thing lately that people are putting out more and more singles. And I'd love to see, 2, maybe 3 singles come off an album before you get to listen to it. But for me, the songs I wanted to highlight it are Top 10 Statues That Cried Blood. Just a really, really cool song. There's also a really amazing vocal cover by Will Ramos. If you haven't heard that or know that, go and give that a spin, listen to that. And then the other song that I really liked on this album that hadn't been released yet was Dig It. Just a very, very cool, very unique way to end an album. I love that it's kind of a little bit like chuggier and slow, but overall great, great album. That ends up on number 5 for my list of top 15. Number 4 is Fit for an Autopsy with their release The Nothing That Is. Another just absolute banger of an album from top to bottom. Super, super heavy. They still incorporate that element of melodicism into some of their songs. A good example of that is in the closing track, Silver Sun. Love that track, but still keeping stuff extremely brutal with songs like Spoils of the Horde and Lurch. Again, absolutely phenomenal work there. Very excited to see these guys soon. I'll be seeing them here in 2 weeks at Rockville. So again, very, very exceptional release from this band here. Number 3 is 7 Hours After Violence, self-titled release. This is a supergroup here with Shavo from System of a Down, Taylor from Left to Suffer. Alejandro kind of does some of his own individual stuff, songs and stuff like that on Spotify. He was on American Idol a few years ago, and then we got a guitar player and bass player from Winds of Plague. So just an incredibly strange-ish group of people. I'm not sure exactly how they met. I'd love to get to ask them that someday, or see a video or figure that out. But a very, very, very unique sound here, almost as if System of a Down married metalcore, throwing a little bit of like singer-songwriter type stuff with Alejandro's vocals. Just absolutely incredible marriage of different, kind of sounds from different groups. This album for me was on repeat pretty much as soon as it came out. I love a bunch of the singles. I just have to mention Radiance is probably my top song, like just individual song of 2025. So again, I loved this album. The 2 songs that I wanted to highlight that were not singles that were previously released are Float and Gloom. Again, if you like System of a Down or you like metalcore, this sounds like both of those things smashed together, and it just came out very beautifully, very well done. Super excited to see these guys here in a couple weeks as well. They will also be at Rockville, so very excited to get to see them live. Number 2, Wage War with their release Stigma. I know a lot of people that I have talked to about this album actually did not enjoy this album as much, or had it kind of lower in their in Wage War's catalog as far as albums go, and I do not see it. I don't understand. I absolutely love this album from top to bottom. Every track, every song is just perfectly, I think, brings Wage War's sound together. If you go and listen to their first album, extremely heavy, a lot of that less, you know, they still have elements of that melodic side, and then go and listen to Pressure, a little bit more melodic. And if you combine Blueprints and Pressure together, I think you would get Stigma. This album is just phenomenal, encapsulates what Wage War is as a band, and I could not be more in love with this album. The two songs that I did want to highlight that were not singles are In My Blood, and I might be a little bit biased. I just, having recently moved to Florida, to get some Florida references in that song is kind of cool. And then I love Self-Sacrifice. The breakdown in that song is just freaking heavy and awesome. So I did not at all understand the hate that this album got. Number 2 on my list was one of my favorite releases, if not favorite Wage War album overall. The number 1 release of 2024 for me was Era with their release Cure. Absolute musicianship from top to bottom in this album. I actually got to see them twice last year and see some of the songs off of this album. Absolutely incredible. The way that they're able to blend heavy and melodic, to me, is just absolutely insane. I love literally every song on this album. For me, is amazing. Idlewild stood out as a not previously released track. That is just, Jesse's vocals in that are just chef's kiss, like mwah, just absolutely insane. And the other song that I wanted to highlight is Wave. I love that it kind of comes in after Pale Iris, and just some of the guitar work in that song is phenomenal. Some of the best in Era's career, in my opinion. I'm really excited to see where Era continues to progress. Their last 2 albums have been just absolutely phenomenal. And so I really think as this band grows and continues to showcase their ability to marry that melodic and heavy side, just they are going to be phenomenal for years to come, and very, very excited to see what those guys have in store for us. But this album, just absolute banger, top to bottom. Thank you guys for watching the video. I truly appreciate the support. Again, really just trying to look back and get back to the artists and the musicians that mean so much to me and so much to us, and help support and promote bands that I love to listen to and to go and see. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe, or share. We truly appreciate it.